Hello again, everybody. This is Steve Callis speaking of sports, and we're here to talk about Alex Rodriguez, I guess, attempting to give advice to the Houston Astros. Uh, and there's just something basically wrong with that. But first, I'm going to read you what he said about a week ago. I personally think he should have never said a thing. He would have been better off. But here's what he said. Quote, "You cheat, you win the championship, there is no suspension, then there is no remorse. People want to see remorse. They want a real, authentic apology, and they have not received that. From a guy who has made as many mistakes as anybody on the biggest stage, I served the longest suspension in MLB history, and it cost me well over $35 million. You know what? I deserve that. As a result, I came back, I owned it. After acting like a buffoon for a long time, I had my apologies, and then I went dark." Now, there's so much funny stuff in there, I'm not sure where to begin, but I'll go back to the very beginning. So, nobody knew it at the time, but you will recall that Alex Rodriguez signed the biggest contract in the history of baseball with the Texas Rangers to begin playing in 2001. It was a 10-year, $250 million contract. It was like video game contract. I mean, nobody could, it was just unbelievable. So, A-Rod went there. His stats were just unbelievable. But here's what happened. Just for some background. In 2001, his first year, the team won 73 games. They had won 71 the year before, so it was a two-game improvement. In 2002, his second year, they won 72 games. They won one less game. In 2003, his MVP year, they won 71 games, so they went backwards again. And then he left. He got traded to the Yankees, and in 2004, they won 89 games. Just saying. Has nothing to do with PEDs, except those 3 years, A-Rod put up tremendous numbers, including an MVP season in his third and final year in Texas. So, he, of course, lied on national TV to Katie Couric in 2007. We're going to go down the A-Rod timeline a little, because when he said, I acted like a buffoon for a while, he did a lot more than act like a buffoon. But in 2007, he went on 60 Minutes with Katie Couric and just lied through his teeth. Now, we know nowadays, as we knew then, it's kind of okay, I guess, to lie all you want as long as you're not, under oath, because what can really happen to you? I mean, he's an idiot, he's a fool, he's a liar, he's a cheater. But he's not going to jail for any of that. So eventually he admitted that he had to, that he had used performance-enhancing drugs. This is when all the PED stuff broke. And eventually he admitted that from 2001 to 2003, he used PEDs in Texas. Why, you ask? Because according to A-Rod, he was under, quote, tremendous pressure, close quote, after signing that 10-year, $250 million contract. Okay, we'll accept that. But here's the problem. A-Rod would eventually deny that he had done PEDs in 2009, and none of that came out until like 2014. He went on WFAN radio with Mike Francesa, the biggest sports station, biggest sports talk guy in the country, in 2013, the year before, and he totally lied through his teeth to Mike Francesa. Why? Doesn't matter if you lie through your teeth to Mike Francesa or Katie Couric. Again, people look at you and say, you're a liar, you're a cheater, I can't believe, blah, blah, blah. But then in 2014, as part of the Balco investigation, he was interviewed by the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration. And what happened? Well, you know what happened. He had to tell the truth. Why? Because he's under oath, and his lawyer said to him, look, A-Rod, you lied to Katie Couric, you lied to Mike Francesa. Nothing happens to you from a judicial perspective. You lie to the DEA, you're lying to a federal agent, that's perjury, that's 5 years. Don't lie. So then he admitted that he had done steroids in 2009, where he had another great season. Here's my problem with all that. So he said in between Texas 2003 and 2009, he didn't do PEDs. That's very hard to believe for the following reason. If your reason for taking PEDs in 2001, 2, and 3 is because of the incredible pressure on that big contract you signed, well, what happens in 2004? You have the same contract. You go to New York, you're playing in Yankee stadiums. I don't know how many reporters there are in Texas, 2, 3, 4, 5, but you know in New York what's happening. The Yankees are the biggest deal in the world to New Yorkers, especially Yankee fans. And the notion to me that he stopped in 2004, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then in 2009 he started up again, I find it very hard to believe. I don't know if it'll ever be proven that A-Rod from 2001 through 2009 used steroids the whole time, but that's certainly a very plausible theory. I certainly think he did. He also won 2 MVPs in New York. Now, he won one with Texas when they won like 71 games. So I've written articles about this before. They often give out the most valuable player to the most outstanding player. There's no way A-Rod's the MVP on a team that went from 73 to 72 to 71 games. And oh, by the way, won 89 the year he left. I mean, that's laugh out loud funny. But it's not just an A-Rod thing. They often give it to the best player, not necessarily the most valuable. But so now here's what happens, 2014. He admits, to the DEA under oath, yeah, I did do PEDs in 2009. And now Mike Francesa looks like a fool, like Katie Couric looked like a fool. Nobody knows whether he's telling the truth about anything, except in 2009 he did admit that he did steroids. Nobody apparently asked him too bad under oath from 2004 to 2008. You'd love to know the answers to those questions. And the reason I think A-Rod's going to have a lot of trouble getting into the Hall of Fame is because we know he did it 4 years. He might have done it 8 or 9 years. Did he do it back in Seattle? I don't know. When he came up, he was a young kid. He was skinny, and he kind of bulked up like some of these guys do. I don't know. But I think there's a good possibility he did it legit for 8 or 9 seasons. But that remains. We'll see if that ever comes back. But because A-Rod has now landed on his feet, right? He's the Sunday night ESPN announcer. He's a great baseball guy. Everybody loves him. Good-looking guy. Going to marry J-Lo. He seems to have made a recovery. So what he said last week was, I guess, his way of giving advice to the Astros that they should show remorse. Now, we've talked about the Astros. We have plenty of Houston. We have a problem videos up there. But they all came in and said, we're really, really, really sorry. Nobody really seemed remorseful. Nobody really seemed, the most they said was, I wish I had done more, et cetera, et cetera. But when A-Rod said, I acted like a buffoon for a long time, I lost $35 million, understand what A-Rod did. He used the scorched earth policy. He vehemently denied everything. He was suspended for 211 games. He went to arbitration. He filed lawsuits against doctors and other people. Everybody seems to forget this wasn't acting like a buffoon. This was hurting people's lives. This was lying to everybody, his family, his friends, his teammates, the Yankees, baseball, millions of fans. And hey, A-Rod has a ton of fans himself. What do you think they were thinking once they found out, this is Barry Bonds? So I think it was just kind of hypocritical, isn't a strong enough word, for him to tell the Astros to show remorse, because he lied for years and years and years and years, and not only showed no remorse, he lied to everybody. Katie Couric, Mike Francesa, everybody, for years. This was not like a one-year thing. I'm not saying the Astros were better because they only supposedly cheated for 1 year or 2 years. Just as I've said in 2019 when the Astros said, oh yeah, we stopped using that getting the signs thing because it wasn't effective anymore. Nobody believes that. There might have been other reasons they thought they were going to get caught maybe, but nobody believes you cheat the whole season in 2017, cheat in the playoffs, win the World Series, do it a different way in 2018 according to the commissioner's report, and then stop in 2019 because it's not effective? No. Nobody believes that. So that's a separate issue. But again, for A-Rod to even say anything, I think he would have been much better off saying nothing. He would have gotten grief for that. But the notion that they have to show remorse, and because he showed remorse, he's now accepted. Well, there's millions of people who don't accept A-Rod, just as there are millions of people who aren't going to accept the Astros, even if they win the World Series. People say, no, if they win the World Series this year, that legitimizes their 2017 World Series. No, it doesn't. They cheated. They cheated the whole year. They cheated in the whole playoffs. They cheated in the World Series. We've read in a separate interview, in a separate video, the home and away for like Altuve and Correa, and Brian McCann hit 037 at home and 300 on the 037 on the road and 300 at home. We have those up in the prior video. The numbers are staggering. So the simple notion that if they showed remorse they'd be forgiven is ridiculous. And I don't know that A-Rod has been forgiven. You know, he came back and played with the Yankees, and at the end it was pretty ugly. He was pretty bad, frankly. And people will say, well, of course he was bad. He, wasn't doing PEDs anymore. So I'm not sure, but he certainly is landing on his feet. I guess that's a good thing for A-Rod. I think it's terrible myself. I don't think he should be doing ESPN games. But he is a good baseball guy. So be best if A-Rod shuts up, like Carlos Correa should have shut up when he defended the Astros, of which he was one, of which he cheated, and talking about other players, telling Bellinger of the Dodgers to shut up. Bellinger's 100% right. All these players are pissed off. Mike Trout, Bellinger, there's dozens of others. Manfred should still strip the World Series. And the Red Sox thing, which was supposed to be decided 10 days, 2 weeks ago, still hasn't been decided. They should strip the Red Sox too if it was the same thing. And since Alex Cora was in both places, he's since been fired, or maybe they mutually agreed to part ways with the Red Sox. He's gone, but he was the one in both places. So if it's the same thing, the Red Sox championship should be taken away as well. Manfred can still do this. Right now, no player has been punished. We've talked about if a player throws at an Astro this year and gets fined and suspended, it'll be the first player to be fined and suspended as a result of the Astros cheating and winning the World Series. So it would be best if A-Rod shuts up. He might be the greatest cheat in the history of cheating in baseball with PEDs. That remains to be seen. I think it's very plausible, frankly, again, from 2001 through 2009. He's admitted 2001, 2, and 3. Under oath with the DEA, he admitted 2009 after lying to Mike Francesa like a few months before. So this was an ongoing lie, cheat, scheme for years and years. But again, seems to have landed on his feet. We'll see if that continues. And the Astros are not going to have a good year. They're not going to land on their feet even if they are remorseful. In my view, even if they win the World Series, it means nothing about 2017. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. This is Steve Callis, speaking of sports. We'll see you the next time.